What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Halo review, this time coming from a different location in my basement. Because, I wanted to mix it up and try things a little different. And then you're probably asking, Jake, where is episode 7 review? Well, I wanted to take a little bit of time off with content. And secondly, I don't think I ever said this on the reviews, but I have said this to myself. If there's ever a situation where there's a Quan-based episode, I'm not going to really spend time talking about it. Yes, the Soren stuff was good, and to see his character development and all that, but I don't care because of the placement, one, and two, I just don't care about the character. And to just completely derail any sort of momentum that the show had from 5 and 6, where the show was actually winning people over and getting people back invested in it again, to see them kind of push that aside to finish Quan's story that not a lot of people really cared about was really annoying. So anyway, let's talk about episode 8, Allegiance. This picks up exactly where episode 6 took off. So we're getting more of... they said her name multiple times and I can't remember, but I know the actress's name is Charlie Murphy. She's great in this, and I know that this character is kind of made for the show, but I like her addition to it and adds a little bit of intrigue to the show. So where we are in this, Chief takes her to the parks and Reach, and we get to see a little bit more of Reach, the city, which is really cool. And we kind of see him romancing her, unintentionally, I think, but he kind of talks to her about who she is and what's going on, and the fact that she's a human and she's hanging out with the Covenant. And based on his conversations with her, it seems like he believes her that she wants to do the right thing. So he goes to his bosses and he says, look, she's human. Oh, well, there was a great conversation where she still has her kind of disdain for humanity, but Chief reassures her that there is good in people. He has seen it, which I really like. It's a nice touch that John still has faith in humanity when there's been every example for him not to believe that. It's nice to see him actually have that in this show. So they have their conversation, and I think that was enough to kind of sway her. I think it was, is it Maki? I don't know, because it looks like it's spelled make, but it's like Maki or whatever. So then he goes back to Jacob and the other superiors, and he says, hey, I think that we should use her to get the other piece and get to the Covenant. And they say, well, she was hanging out with the Covenant, but he's like, she's still human. She is a human. She will help the humans, is what he starts to believe. And I think she actually started to believe it for a bit, because later, in this show, which was not something I expected, he goes back to her quarters. I think maybe they're going to have another conversation. I don't know. Then the next thing I know, she takes her shirt off. He takes his shirt off. They have this really... It's supposed to be intimate and sexy scene, but they bang. And I didn't expect that. Did not expect that at all. First of all, I didn't expect to see Master Chief's ass. Let alone did I expect to see Master Chief fuck in this show. But we get both of those things. And I don't really know what to make of that, other than I was surprised. I mean, it's not that... Look, I'm not a prude. I'm not, like this button-down conservative person that's saying, hey, Master Chief shouldn't be banging. I think Master Chief should be banging. But I did not expect it to be him with the possible villain of the show for him to be doing that, which, storytelling-wise is interesting. I mean, it's not that it's never been done before, but it's an interesting decision to have him be intimate with the villain of the story. Now, again, I have to address these people every every review I do. It's only fair. I can understand how hardcore Halo fans would be like, what the fuck is this? Like, why is Master Chief banging this villain? Even though we're supposed to believe at this point in the story that he might have convinced her and she might be on his side. Either way, look, the way I see it, Chief, come on, that's honeypot right there. Of course the Covenant sent out a beautiful woman, human woman, to seduce you, man. You got to be thinking. That's what this is why he shouldn't have taken the pellet out. Now he's just thinking with his little chief instead of thinking with his Master Chief. Think about that. What is this review? All right, so other things that happen in this episode. Halsey is still scheming, and I do like that. Even though we're supposed to, and this is what I've always liked about Halo, just in general. I do like that we have this impeding threat, the Covenant, that we are supposed to root against because they're fighting humanity. They're trying to kill us humans. That's who the villain is supposed to be. But in reality, the biggest villain of this show is a human, or possibly the two biggest villains of the show are humans. And I kind of love that that's what this show is driving home, where you have Master Chief on one end saying like, hey, no, don't kill the humans. I believe in the humans. They're still good in them. And then you have Halsey on the other side of this episode saying, no, people are stupid. People are the worst. They don't let me do what I want. Because Jacob comes into her room, Halsey becomes informed based on Cortana spying on them and just being with Chief all the time. She finds out that, Chief's got the hots for, God, I want to say it's Maki, or Make? I don't know. Charlie Murphy. Not that Charlie Murphy. He has the hots for her, so he's got a girlfriend. How predictable, how antiquated. Because again, she knows that he took the pellet out of him, so he can feel things again. So she's kind of moving forward with her plans, and then Jacob Keyes comes in and says, "Look, we want you off the planet by noon today." And I'm sure I'm skipping around. I'm not giving you a full episode. Watch the episode. So he comes up to her and he says, "Look, we want you off the planet by noon. I did the best I could with accommodating for you. They want to do worse things. I tried to hook you up with this place and this apartment. Just get off the planet." And then he kind of pleads to her. He's like, "What else is this going to take? What else are you going to lose? You lost me. You lost your daughter. You lost your job. You're going to lose your Spartans. Like, what else?" And she's like, "Everything." Because she is obsessed with finding what this artifact is and the truth with the Covenant and everything like that. And she will ruin every relationship she has. She will destroy everything she can if she just gets that. And she is the one who says humans are weak. Humans will never reach their potential. And they'll never get to what I believe they should because of that. So I love that they just full on... Oh, geez, I just bumped the camera. Full on in episode 8, we're like, okay, Halsey is the new villain. Halsey is the big bag. You got the Covenant. You've got the Maki. Again, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize. And you've got Halsey. And they're all three kind of converging. And again, I can't stress this enough. I just wish this show would be less episodes. Because here we are in episode 8, and I'm feeling like this could have been something that was in episode 5 or 6 or something, in the middle, whereas we get, ready. If this was an 8-episode season, I feel like we would have gotten to this point already, and we would already be in the final throes of the season. But alas, here we are. So the episode ends with Halsey making her play for the artifact. She puts in the Z protocol with the Spartans, so she kind of just takes over the Spartans and says, "Look, fuck everybody else. This is what we're doing. This is what's happening." Also, shout out to Kai, because she's great in this episode. Her story and Chief's story are the most compelling stories of this show for me, and I love that we get to see more of her shine. They ask what she's doing, and then they cut to her, and she's like pulling up this giant piece of metal that's really heavy, and she slams it down. "You got anything heavy?" And then the next thing you know, she's pulling up a warthog with the pulley, and just I love seeing her kind of be a badass, and I love that her and Chief are going to build something because he saves her, and so she gets a chance to return the favor in this episode. So by the time that the UNSC is making the decision to say, okay, we're going to use her too, they're both, because she makes the statement, as you saw in episode 6, they're both chosen, her and Chief, so their plan is to get those two to get to the Covenant. As that's happening, that's when Halsey sets in the Z protocol. Then she says to the Spartans, go after Master Chief. Kai was taken off the mission because she finds out that Kai was like, hey, wait a minute, this is not... Because she says that Chief is compromised. He touched the Ark too much, and that messed with his head. So now they have to stop him. And then Kai is like, wait a minute, this isn't the John I know. This isn't the Master Chief I know. Maybe we should talk this out, think about it. And the other guys are like, no. We're doing what we're told. It's what it is. She gets taken off. They attack her, which was brutal. I gotta say, the violence definitely seemed to amp up in the last few episodes because they straight up just punch Kai because she took her helmet off. First mistake, Kai. Why are you doing? Is it because you take off your pellet that you guys just start taking off your helmet? Because why would you take off your helmet when you got two other Spartans in this situation? Anyway, they hit her, knock her out, chain her up. Then they go after Chief. And that was an awesome fight, by the way. Is it Rez and Venick? The two battling Chief, and that was a brutal fight. And then you have Cortana helping him and telling him, oh, go for the knee, go for the ribcage. Now we're finally getting Cortana and Chief working together and finally seeing the beginning of that relationship. Because even Cortana was like, this isn't right, because Halsey said, what's in the end game? Cortana says to Halsey, what's in the end game for me out of all this? And she goes, oh, well, you could take over Chief's body and have full control like we always promised. And that was something that kind of finally was like, I don't think this is right. So she helps have the fight. In the meantime, Maki's trying to get help. Then Miranda Keyes finds out that there's a recording from the UNSC ship that she attacked, and she's like, "No, you got to understand, it wasn't my choice. They was doing what they were telling me. They don't care. They keep shocking her with this like baton, electro baton thing, and then doing that to her." Sends flashbacks of the earlier episodes that we saw where she was being enslaved by the UNSC, and she, the main chick says, you're going to pay for this, and she goes, no, you're the one who will pay. So then she touches the arc, boom, sends off the EMP that it always does, and that's the end of the episode. So now we're getting to the end games, and I think episode 9 and 10 are going to be really awesome, and I can't wait to see them. I think this was a good return to form. This show reminds me a lot of Moon Knight in a sense that it gets so frustrating because there's such a good show under there, but there's all this extra layer of world building and lore and new characters, unnecessary characters that I feel like just bog this story down. If they would just keep focusing on Chief and the artifact and Silver Team and Kai and how all that works together, and Halsey and the dynamics and the politics of the UNSC, and then we still haven't. When's the last time we went to freaking High Charity? Like I want to see more of the politics of the Covenant, which we might get in the next 2 episodes, and I hope we do. I think there's just so much of the show that I feel like there are valid criticisms from fans that go into this, but then there's also so much more, and I love that they're doing such a different take on Halo and doing their own thing. But at the same time, there are elements that I'm like, why are we going this direction? Why are we doing like Chief hooking up with her? I just, that seems so unnecessary to the rest of the story. I guess the idea is to get it so that she's intimate with him, so she believes him, and she maybe isn't as evil as we thought she was, and it's all a thing of circumstance. I'm sure you could get that out of this, but at the end of the day, it's like, what makes this show good and what really makes this show enjoyable are the action set pieces, are the stuff. Now, I'm not saying I don't like the politics and the dialogue and the slower stuff. I do. I've said that multiple times. We should have that, because if it's just action all the time, it's boring. But I'm hoping episode 9 and 10, we get back to the basics and show Chief and Kai and whoever else is ready to fight kicking ass and taking names. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if they reconcile with Silver Team by the end of this episode, or by the next episode. Be like, no, you got to understand, Halsey was doing her thing to us, and he's be like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. What did you think? Because I enjoyed it. I guess I never actually gave an explanation of how I felt. I really enjoyed this episode. As I've said, when the show focuses on Chief, when the show focuses on Silver Team, when it on Halsey, on the Covenant, that's when it's at its best. And as much as I like the dude who plays Soren, and as much as I like Soren's character, if he wasn't saddled up with Quan and he maybe had a different story, I would like it more and appreciate it more. And again, nothing against the actress that plays Quan. I just think Quan isn't a good character. And I could give 2 shits about Madrigal. That's why I didn't review episode 7. So episode 8, I really enjoyed it. I can't wait for episode 9 and 10. I think we are finally in the end game of what this show is going to be, and I really hope they knock it out of the park in the final 2 episodes, because I'm one of the people that actually defends this show and likes this show, and I know there aren't a ton of us on the internet. What did you think about episode 8, Allegiance of Halo the series? Comment below. Let me know. Click the like button if you liked it, and click that bell. Well, first subscribe, and then click the bell so you can see all of the Halo reviews. And I promise I'll be back next week. Unless it's a quad episode, then I'm out.